In today's video, you are going to understand what it takes to score a band 9 in the pronunciation area of the IELTS speaking test. Now, it's not just about pronouncing words correctly, it's about displaying certain features that UK and US speakers have. First one is this: getting your phonemes right. Now, what exactly is a phoneme? So, a phoneme is a sound that's produced by the different alphabets of the English language. So, there are 26 different alphabets that include vowel and consonants, right? So, you may have short vowel sounds, you may have long vowel sounds, you may have consonant sounds. You got to get these phonemes right, and that's how you will end up pronouncing words correctly. For example, take a look at HAIR. Now that's pronounced hair, but HERE is pronounced here. Notice the difference? HAIR is hair, here. So these two vowel sounds, extended vowel sounds, are different, and that will come to your knowledge when you know these phonemes. Your next step is to get the past tense endings, connected speech right. Let's take a look. So with sound endings, the first step is for you to get the past tense ending correct. Now look at these past tense endings, right? So when you have ed or ted at the end, the ed just turns into a soft t. For example, completed, not completed, or divided. The d becomes soft and it becomes a t there. Now the next element that you need to practice here is connected speech. Connected speech has two elements to it. One about unimportant words of the English language. So when you have articles, prepositions, conjunctions, pronouns in a sentence, they don't really take importance or the stress from your voice. Say I'm working at a multinational company. So at, am do not take importance, whereas multinational, company, working, all of these are content words contributing to the sentence. So the next element here is about speaking words as if they are one word. And here are three patterns for you to understand. The first one is consonant to vowel, as in the first word ending has a consonant sound and the beginning of the second word has a vowel sound. So you make it sound as if it's one word. And notice how I've said H has a vowel sound. It is true. So when you have a consonant sound preceding the word, the letter H, it sounds like a vowel. For example, this one here, would plus have, sounds like would have, could have, call her, call him. Take a look at the next pattern. When you have consonants at the beginning and the end of the second and the first words, hot tea, quick shower, shopping spree. It sounds as if we are masking one sound and then giving more importance to the second. Take a look at how this is different when two vowel sounds come together. You either add a W sound or a Y sound. Take a look. So when you say how are, I'm just putting a W there, an extra W there in front of are to make it sound together, seamless. How are. I don't say how are. It's how are. Similarly, stay in. It's as if the Y is in front of the I there. Let's move on to our next feature. Before you understand syllable stresses, you need to know what syllables are. So syllables are pieces or chunks inside a word, and that is mostly separated by a vowel sound. Look at these bisyllabic words, that means words that have two syllables: record, present, preview. So the rule here is that when you have such words, you stress them differently when they are a noun or a verb. Take a look. Record, record. Review, review. Protest, protest. Produce, produce. Present, present. Practice this when you see such words that have same spellings for nouns and verbs. And I hope you know the meanings of all of these words. Okay, so the next two features are probably the most important ones and the ones that add that style and also that impact to your speech. Let's take a look at pausing and chunking and intonation. Here's the thing about pausing and chunking. So you are going to split your sentences into pieces such that you're conveying information that you feel is important to be grouped. That's chunking. And then after each chunk, you are pausing, either a long pause when there's a full stop or a slightly shorter pause when there's a comma or a conjunction. Let's take a look at this example. It was an immensely proud moment for Gunjankar. And why wouldn't it be? Last year, the marketing professional at an advertising agency in Gurugram got a congratulatory mail from coding startup White Hat Junior, which narrated the achievement of her 14-year-old son. We're delighted to share that your son is now one of the youngest kids in the world to become a certified Android developer. Underlying the mail from the startup, which was bought by Byju's for $300 million in August 2020. For a startup that was just a little under 2 years old and had raised $11 million in venture capital, being valued at 2,250 crores by Byju's, India's largest edtech company, was staggering. So did you notice what I did there? I gave a slightly shorter pause when there was one slash and a slightly longer pause when there were two slashes. And with the portion that did not have these slashes, I put them into one chunk and spoke that portion continuously. Now that's how you create an impact with the help of pauses and stresses. And you also noticed that at places where there were numbers, where there was information being given out, where I felt it was significant for that sentence, or let's say it's a description about a certain noun, I kind of stressed on those words as well. And this is called sentence stressing. And that takes me to the last feature of the day, which is intonation is basically the rise and fall in your voice, and you do this at various instances. You do this when you want to convey a certain feeling or attitude with someone, or let's say you have a certain relationship with the listener, you use your voice to convey your point, or you are trying to convey the status of information. Now, if it's the end of a sentence, you keep your tone a certain way. If it's the beginning or the middle of a sentence, then you keep your tone a certain way. And also conveys grammatical meaning. For example, if it's a question, if it's a comma, if it's a full stop, you use different tones to convey these punctuation marks. And I'm going to help you understand how the right way of intonating is. At the beginning of each sentence, you raise your pitch. Say if it's the end of a sentence, you make it a falling pitch. Your volume has to be slightly low than what it was in the beginning of the earlier sentence, right? So let's practice intonation with the same example that we had, and you try practicing it once again, and I will not be speaking for that portion of the video. You try practicing the same way that I did. Let's get started. It was an immensely proud moment for Gunjankar, and why won't it be? Last year, the marketing professional at an advertising agency in Gurugram got a congratulatory mail from coding startup White Hat Junior, which narrated the achievement of her 14-year-old son. We're delighted to share that your son is now one of the youngest kids in the world to become a certified Android developer, underlined the mail from the startup, which was bought by Byju's for $300 million in August 2020. For a startup that was just a little under 2 years old and had raised $11 million in venture capital, being valued at 2,250 crores by Byju's, India's largest edtech company, was staggering. So I hope you noticed my intonation at the beginning and at the end and at places in the sentences where I was conveying important information or information that had a lot of surprise element, as in something that was happy for this particular person. Okay, so you go on and practice this on your own right now. Right then, so that brings me to the end of this very detailed, intensive, and practice intensive lesson about speaking like a native speaker. Now, remember, these are various features that native speakers display without actually practicing them, but we require a little more practice than usual. Okay, so if you display these features consistently throughout your speaking test without faltering or making mistakes, then you are a band 9. It's not very hard, it's just that you need to keep practicing. So I'll see you guys in another video with more such insights. I hope you enjoyed this lesson as much as I did. Bye bye then. Have a great day.